what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small businesses with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, things have changed a lot since our last podcast. We're going to be sharing some ideas with you for managing your business during uncertain times. Our guest today is a consultant who works with startup businesses to manage supply chain and technology risk. His name is Peter Weiss. Peter is an old friend who also is working from home in New York City. So we're going to be asking him about having the shift into telecommuter mode. And we'll also ask him about what life is like working and living in New York during the coronavirus health crisis. And finally, we'll be sharing some small businesses of the month with you, where we'll highlight some interesting businesses that you should be checking out. Welcome. My name is Jeff Neuville. I'm your co-host. I am the director of the Small Business Center at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who's the Dean of the School of Workforce, Productivity, and the Arts at Catawba Valley Community College. Gary, this is our first remote Zoom podcast. How are you doing in a virtual way?
I'm really excited. I'm learning so much more about technology than I ever knew a month ago. And so this is just the next step in my development.
Well,
you look good. I can see you. You look better on a computer than you do in person. That's what my wife tells me too.
Yeah, I get that a lot. A lot. So anyway, well, it's good to see you, and it has been a challenging time for everyone out there, and working in the community college environment. You've been very busy working with people to shift from seated classes and moving things to an online environment. How are things going from an educational perspective?
Challenging is a good word, but I have to tell you, I'm very excited about how well our faculty and directors have worked over the last month to move. It's been out of our comfort zone, but people have reacted really, really well. And when we shift from a seated to an online, one of the things I was talking about in my last meeting that just ended is it's not just online. We're doing a lot of things so that students are seeing their instructors. We're doing Zoom classrooms. We're doing WebEx classrooms. And it's going extremely well. Now, it's like everything else. Not everybody's come along as quickly as others, but we've really seen a great reaction. I feel really good about it. We're going to be a different college a few months down the road when we come out of this, because people are doing things that they've never done before. The one challenge for us has been labs, where you do welding and you do machining. Trying to make that switch to online has been a challenge. But the combination of moving our classroom, our lectures to online or Zoom has worked out really well. That's probably more than you wanted to know, but I'm excited to be saying that we are doing some really good things.
Well, I guess part of being an entrepreneur is taking risks and being willing to try new things. And sometimes we do that by choice. Sometimes we do that because we have to. But
me, I've come technology being drugged that way. But now I'm excited about it. I do WebExes all day long.
Well, I still don't think you're qualifying for early adopter status quite yet. But we're glad that you're making progress. So right. keep up the good work. So a lot of the work that our Small Business Center network is doing throughout the state of North Carolina is trying to provide support and assistance to small businesses, which, we're taping this in late March, and because of the coronavirus and lockdowns and social distancing, many small businesses are hurting and are being challenged by the economy, and just an accumulation of some general advice that we hear from our small business centers, which is probably good advice during any time, but just so much more important at this point in time. Number one, you really have to be focusing on your cash flow right now. And goodness knows, we probably said on this podcast many a time that cash is king, but particularly right now when you're not totally sure what your revenues are going to be and how you can control your expenses, trying to estimate your revenues and get some sense of the trend, trying to figure out where you can reduce expenses where possible and really manage your cash situation becomes so important. So work on those cash flow projections and try to understand where you're at. Secondly, communication. And I'll say first, when it comes to dealing with lenders and your banks, not responding to calls is about the worst thing that you can do at this point in time. You really have to have good communication with your lenders and your banks. And there are going to be a lot of people having issues out there. And in all likelihood, your banks are going to want to work with you. But if they don't hear from you, that scares
a good thing to them.
Yeah, if you're not talking, that scares the hell out of them. So you want to be talking to people, and maybe your business actually, there are certain businesses that might have more opportunities in this situation. You might have opportunities to improve your financial situation or open up a new line of credit. So that would be a good thing to consider as well. And going further, communicating with employees and communicating with your customers. They need to know any changes in your businesses. We'll be talking to Peter here in a moment, and New York is under a lockdown order. We're in Catawba County, North Carolina right now, which is not under a lockdown, but certainly people are being encouraged to practice social distancing. So, if you're a business that's not under lockdown, it's still important to really be communicating safety practices, what you're doing to make sure that your place of business is being cleaned and sanitized, and how you're making sure that your employees, if anyone has any symptoms, is not going to come into work, just to provide some reassurance to people that it's a safe place to be. And sort of related to cash flow, I'll say try to reevaluate your break-even point, based on any changes you can make to your expenses, and try to assess where you need to be cash flow. And Gary on our Zoom is now showing that he's got a bottle of Lysol that he is very proud to share with everybody. And
my wife has taught me well.
Yeah, well, you're one of the cleaner people I know, Gary. So anyway, so these are just some things to be thinking about as you go forward. And Gary, don't know if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on that, those things as well.
Well, I think the communication, again, I was talking to you before we got on, and again, have been late to the technology show, but feel really good about WebExing. I mean, we're WebExing all day long, all week long, staying in constant communication with our directors. Obviously, you and I talk a lot already, but making sure that we're talking to our faculty and our students, so that, and it's the same thing with our customers, because our students are our customers and our business partners too. Silence is a scary thing to me, and so just everybody else. If I'm expecting people to talk to me and they stop talking, then I worry that there's a problem. May not be, it could be technology, but we want to get in touch with people as quickly as possible, whether it's a faculty having a technology problem or a student, even more important. I think students need to hear from us more than ever before, just like our customers do. And of course, the banks, for our small business clients, need to hear from our small businesses so that they know that there's nothing wrong. I mean, they know their challenges, but that they know that we're talking, because if we're talking, we can make plans and solutions that we can't otherwise. I mean, it's corny, but it's true. Communication is, as cash is king, communication is king in this type of environment.
No, I agree. Well, we're pleased to have a guest with us today who is also Zooming in with us, and I'm going to welcome my friend Peter Weiss to the Entrepreneur Exchange. Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Peter is a consultant who lives in New York City, where he works with firms to assess and manage technology risk, supply chain risk, and works on disaster recovery. Until recently, he had an office in New Jersey. And I guess you still have an office in New Jersey. You're just not able to visit it at this point in time. All New Yorkers are staying in place. So he's now a telecommuter with working out of his New York apartment with his wife, 2 kids, 1 dog. So Peter, welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange. And just to let everybody know, you and I are very old and very good friends back from the University of North Carolina. So appreciate it. It's always good to see you, and we don't see each other that often. So it's good to see you on our Zoom podcast today.
Well, this is the only way people are seeing me other than my family, so I'm used to it.
Well, tell us.
To our podcast.
Well, Peter, tell us a little bit about the work that you do as a consultant and the types of areas that you get into. It's sort of like that technology risk type things, which we're hearing so much about these days. And now I guess with supply chain, it's an even bigger issue that you're probably having to deal with.
It is. What I like to say is that you're only as secure as your suppliers are and as your vendors are. So if you have a close relationship with a firm that does work for you and they have access to your employee list, you want to make sure that that firm is taking all the precautions necessary to protect it as you would protect it. Same as if they had your customer list, same as if they had the passwords and access to your system. We all remember a couple years ago when Target was breached and they got hacked for all of the information on clients. This was a problem because they had a HVAC supplier who had access to their environment, and the HVAC vendor's environment was not as secure as Target. So someone targeted the HVAC vendor and then went into Target and got all the Target information. And while it wasn't Target's fault, the fact is that their supplier was not treating their data, the supplier's data, as well as the client, as well as Target treated theirs. So I do that assessment for firms, for clients of ours, looking at their cyber risk, looking at password policies, looking at making sure that, that there's dual factor authentication for people dialing in if necessary, and also making sure that they have in place incident response plans and disaster recovery plans. And incident response is, to think of it, the easiest way to think of it is if an employee of your supplier loses a laptop, what's on that laptop? Are your customers' lists on there? And if someone finds it, what can they do with it? You remember back a couple of years ago, Anthem was caught because someone lost a laptop with a whole lot of their customers on it. So they were fined and, rightly punished for it. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen because our clients really don't want to have to deal with those issues, and paying a little bit upfront to make sure that your firm is secure probably makes a lot of sense. That's really our pitch, and that's what we go for with our clients. Our clients tend to be larger firms who can afford to focus on it, but even small firms really need to ask the questions and make sure. Right now we're living in a disaster recovery business continuity planning example of making sure that firms, especially, those in the New York area where employees can't go in, they have adequate plans in place and that the plans are tested. It's okay to have a plan, but if it's never tested, what's the point of it? You don't want it failing when people need to execute on it.
And I'm assuming that most of how easy is it for you doing this sort of work to move from doing it in an office to doing it at home? Now you're a telecommuter, like I guess many people. So how easy has that been?
Well, my office was set up so that way we could, we had access to the standard office tools. The people who I worked with in my firm were close by. So we had a, water cooler type relationship, and we worked together. And it was seeing people. But frankly, it wasn't a whole lot of difference, because the firms that we were dealing with, we typically contacted them via email and over the phone. So we were exchanging documents that way. And some firms, one of the things we look at is policies. And some firms are reluctant to email their policies to you, but they're willing to show them to you over Zoom or WebEx. So, we're used to using the tools. But, it's always a case of being caught where you go home one day and you can't come back into the office. So, I had to set up a laptop at home because my desktop machine was in my office when we were told that we couldn't go in anymore. Not the end of the world. And the fact is that, I could do it because we were prepared to do it, but it required a little bit of work. And when it turned out to be a long-term thing, as in more than a week, had to buy a larger monitor to hook my laptop up to and a keyboard. So that way I could, I wouldn't go blind looking at a small laptop screen.
So, and in turn, it sounds like the sort of work that you do, maybe people don't think about it as much until crisis hits. I mean, it sounds like a lot of the work that you do is with people that plan for this and worry about these things beforehand. They've got security risk, or they want to make sure that they're managing security risks. Is this, particularly when it comes to supply chain, are people out there frantically searching for new suppliers at this point in time, or is that horse out of the barn right now?
Well, colleagues of mine have been working on finding new suppliers for items that they've been looking at. But it really is the fact that the horse is out of the barn. It's hard to do anything in an emergency situation. Another part of my role is to do contracts. And, oftentimes, because we work with larger firms, we do RFPs, RFQs, we check out, various firms. We then get them to bid against each other and then choose someone who we think is both lowest cost as well as highest quality and balance those out. And it's not an immediate sort of thing. So, if you're at, a Monday when people are saying that you need to get this, you need a new supplier Thursday, it's a little tough, and you're behind the eight ball.
Any leads on new toilet paper suppliers?
No, but Amazon is not delivering toilet paper now. My Subscribe and Save is not executing. Costco is not mailing it, is not shipping it out. So I'm lucky we have a large supply. But those of you who still have access, I suggest you make sure you have enough for a while.
Well, I will tell you a funny but true story. We had gone for several days going to Walmart, not being able to get toilet paper. So one day after work, Jeff, I'm not even sure I told you this. I went into Walmart and they happened to be bringing out a brand new pallet just less than a week ago. And I took a few containers.
Containers? Come on,
yeah,
Gary.
That's not a good word.
Are you a hoarder?
No, packages.
Okay.
And so I'm walking with my cart to pay, and the guy started using the F word on me 4 or 5 times, saying effing you, effing. Now I see why there's no effing toilet paper and this and that. And I did my Jeff Neuville calm and just kept on walking, as opposed to maybe turning to him and telling him what I really thought, since I've been going a week, going to Walmart morning, noon, and night, not getting some. But I did, those stories are true. I got cussed out at Walmart.
Well, I just hope we don't get to a point where we have roving gangs, sticking us up for toilet paper. So hopefully,
I'm afraid I might get mugged on the way out of Walmart with the fact that they could see this toilet paper.
Well,
you don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, well, it's. I understand. It's been a challenge out there. So, Peter, you've had to set up your home office there in New York. You talked a little bit about the laptop and equipment. As I mentioned, you live in an apartment. You have a family as well. How how are things working with the family? Have you had to come up with any guidelines or rules for family for, hey, I'm working sort of thing? Your daughters are, I'm supposed to know this, but I suspect 16 and 12, or how close was I?
Very close, 14 and 17. They've actually been on vacation for the past 2 weeks. They're going back to school online Monday. So we have it all set up on who's working where. My wife has also been working from home. So it's both of us working from home. Right now my kids have been streaming stuff online. So our bandwidth is fine. And, we haven't had a problem with that. When we have conference calls or something like that, if we can't lock ourselves into one of the bedrooms, we just do it where we need to do it, and everyone respects it. The only sort of problem is the dog, because she sees everyone home, she's confused, and she always wants to play. So occasionally, one of us who isn't on a call has to take care of, amusing the pup.
And how so we're here in late March. How many weeks have you been doing the work from home thing?
Let's see. Today is the
27th.
27th. I was home the 20th. I was home the 13th. I was home the Tuesday of that week of the 13th, which would have been the 9th. So since the 10th, I've been home.
So
working
about
from home full time.
About 2.5 weeks at this point in time.
Yes.
So, and have you found, are there any telecommuting tools or things that you can recommend to people that have been working well for you, or whether they be technology or other types of things?
Technology-wise, I would say Zoom is the one that everyone knows about and that everyone hears about. And, I would suggest everyone setting up a free account, because, in the crunch, when you have to set up a free account because you have someone doing a Zoom, it's, just a little bit more pressure. But I urge everyone to do that because it's really a good tool. Even if you use something else like Skype, Zoom is a little bit better, I think. And if you're going to need it a lot, then pay for the subscription, because, again, it could be worth it to you.
I was going to say, I think you can get I think the free version allows you to talk to people for 40 minutes before it cuts off. I think that's how the free version works.
I believe that's true.
Yeah, and I don't think you can have dial-up numbers for the free version now, that it all has to be voice over computer.
So, any other technology tools that have been helpful to you?
Any other technology tools? No, not that I can really, not that I can really think of. None that I don't use normally when I'm in the office. I take notes on an iPad, and I store everything in the cloud, so that way I don't have to worry about not being able to access notebooks. Again, the more you have, so that way it doesn't matter where you're working, means you can work any place you want to. And I think that it's going to become closer to the new normal rather than just a DR solution.
So, you're in New York City, which is really suffering. I don't know if suffer is the right word, but has had more cases.
Impacted.
More impacted than any other city in the United States, and maybe arguably the world. I don't know. But, tell us just a little bit about what life is like at this point in New York City and how people are getting along.
It's mainly you need to stay in your apartment as much as possible. You can go out to walk the dog, to exercise, but you need to keep away from people. Supermarkets are open, pharmacies are open, restaurants are open, but only for delivery and takeout. So you can do those things. Now, there are firms that are deemed, and workers who are deemed essential, who are allowed to go into their offices, and offices that are allowed to be open. And in addition to the ones I mentioned before, construction is also deemed essential. all the medical staff and medical issues are deemed essential. So they can freely go around. There's no one stopping anyone. The police aren't saying, where are your papers? And we don't have that. But it is, the police are making it a point, and everyone's making it a point to maintain distance from people. And, in a city like New York, it's very different from what we're used to. And it's pretty unnerving.
So I imagine you look out on what is typically a very, very busy street, and is it just deserted or just very few cars at this point in time?
It's very quiet. Rush hour is very quiet. Times of the day when it would be a lot of traffic, it just isn't there. The upside is apparently pollution is way down. Not just New York, but globally, because of the lack of industrial production is way down. But it is a little tough, and it is a little unnerving.
And you live very close to Central Park, and I assume that it's okay to go out and get some exercise every now and then. Is that still available to you?
It's available and encouraged. They're encouraging people to go out and to get exercise, but to maintain distance. So people are still running in the park, biking in the park, walking in the park, and that's still happening. And again, it's lockdown and shelter in place isn't as dire as don't leave your apartment. Most people choose not to leave their apartment much unless they're doing one of those activities or going, to the grocery store if they want to, or the pharmacy if they have to, and restaurants to pick up or having stuff delivered. But frankly, we've always been in a city where you can get anything delivered at virtually any time. Now you can get anything delivered at any time, but you may have to wait a while. Grocery delivery, which you could use to get same day, like on Amazon, Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods, is now, if you're lucky to get a spot, it could be several days away. So you have to do a little bit more planning. But again, it's just a bit of a change.
So are you? It sounds to me like you guys are relying primarily on delivery, or are you guys going after grocery stores, or what's your personal situation?
We're relying on delivery, frankly.
And are you like planning out? Here in North Carolina, my wife sat down with me and my son this weekend and said, I don't want to go to the grocery store that often. We need to plan out for the next week. How far are you looking at when it comes to that?
Week 2. Mm-hmm. I have an order from Amazon scheduled for tomorrow. I have an order from Wegmans scheduled for mid next week, and I have an order from Stop and Shop Peapod scheduled for the following weekend. So the biggest issue is getting getting fresh fruit and vegetables, because they only last so long. But other than that, the freezer's our friend.
I have toilet paper for 2 months.
If we ration it and use it wisely, we do.
Well, yeah, hopefully we won't be doing a podcast for alternatives for toilet paper in the near future. I don't think that's going to show up on our Entrepreneur Exchange podcast. At least I'm hopeful. We'll see. So, Peter, any other advice that you have if we get an order here in North Carolina saying that we have to stay in place and can't venture out except to grocery stores? Any other advice that you'd share with us for preparing for something like that, or from working from home?
Yeah, have be able to get some exercise however you can, because it really does help. Peloton has increased their free trial from 30 days to 90 days, and they include not just their bicycling, which doesn't really help if you don't have a stationary bike, but also things such as strength, stretching, cardio that you can do and yoga, which you can do with minimal equipment. So take a look at that. And there are other applications which they're opening up and increasing the free trials of. And it's, it is a change. There's no getting around it that it is different from what most people do. So appreciate being able to walk around freely and do everything right now.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're getting to walk around as well. It's just, and we're certainly getting the message that social distancing is important and necessary. So it's not like we're hanging out in groups or anything. I mean, I think I can't speak for Gary. I can speak for myself, in that I've made some visits to grocery stores or retail stores, but I'm trying to minimize that. And once we go home, we're pretty much home. It's not like we're going out and socializing at this point in time. So
right,
we're all sort of in that same sort of boat.
Right. No one's going out for dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
I go pick up at drive-thrus for dinner.
And I think Gary and his wife's clubbing schedule has been really, really diminished at this point in time.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Well,
Other than when she gets mad at me and pulls a golf club on me.
that's the idea of clubbing in the Muller household. All right, very good. So, well, Peter, we really appreciate having you on the Entrepreneur Exchange. Are there ways people, if they want to reach out and contact you? I'm not sure you want to be contacted at this point in time, but if, I imagine you're out there in LinkedIn and various places.
Yeah, I am. And otherwise, they can get in touch with you and you can pass it off to me.
Fair enough. But while we have you, are you okay to play our lightning round?
Certainly.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, our lightning round is, again, this month sponsored by Globo Gym. If you need to lose some weight, really, you really probably can't go to anybody's gym, but you can't go to Globo Gym. Globo Gym is really where you want to go if you already look good. And you should check out Globo Gym on the internet. But we've got some quick questions for you, Peter. So here we go with our lightning round. When you get out of your stay-in-place mandate, where do you want to take your family for your first vacation post-coronavirus?
Either Disney World or Death Valley.
Sort of a big mix there, but okay. Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Godfather movies?
Star Wars.
Who is the Burger King?
Joel Broadway's the Burger King.
80s rock and roll, B-52s or the Police?
B-52s.
I thought you'd go the other way there. I think you introduced me to the Police, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
That can be taken a couple different ways.
True. Salmon or tilapia?
Salmon. Tilapia eats species.
Okay, thank you. Is it okay to wear socks with sandals?
Absolutely.
I think you've done that for many a year.
I've done that since the 20s.
Hector's Greek grilled cheese or Time Out fried chicken?
Oh, it's going to be Greek grilled cheese.
Okay. Last question. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Telekinesis.
Fair enough. Will that help make the virus go away? Can't you have that superpower?
No. That's beyond telekinesis.
Okay. Well, Peter, it is wonderful speaking with you. I appreciate you joining us for the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network. Needless to say, people should be checking out the mesh.tv because there are a lot of podcasts out there. And these days, you might be looking for some ways to spend some time. So go to the mesh.tv and be checking them out. We always like to wind up our podcast by sharing some small businesses of interest. And Peter, do you have a small business that you'd like to share with us?
Well, first of all, I think that the overriding thing is restaurants, because restaurants in New York are really suffering because they can't serve people. A lot of them have turned to takeout, and you can even actually take out and get delivered alcohol now. which you used to not be able to in New York. But in the same vein, there's an app called Slice, SLICE, and the website is slicelife.com. And they are a service that works with pizzerias for delivery. And it's similar to Grubhub and Seamless, which deliver all over. But Slice takes a smaller cut from the pizzeria owners. And and pizzeria owners are typically very small businesses. The other thing Slice is doing now is you're able to give them money and buy a pizza for healthcare workers, and they're delivering pizzas to hospitals. So, even if you're not in an area near Slice and you want to take care of healthcare workers, you can buy a pizza and, get it delivered. And, it does two things. It keeps the restaurant people in business and that whole chain, but it also gets the first responders who are, the medical personnel who can't get out, gives them free food.
And where can people find them?
Slicelife.com or on the Apple or Google web stores under Slice. And they're in many cities, not just New York.
All right. Well, I that sounds like a good one, and it does make me want some New York pizza, in that North Carolina still struggles in that area. So I do miss that. Anyway.
Well, come on up. We got plenty.
Well, at some point, I look forward to doing that. Gary, what's your small business this month?
Thanks, Jeff. My small business of the month is Catawba Farms, which is set on 34 beautiful acres in Newton, North Carolina. At its heart is the Peacock Inn, a historic 5-bed and breakfast inn. It's also a vineyard and a winery, as well as it's a venue for weddings, receptions, reunions, parties, all types of events. Catawba Farm hosts a wide variety of events, as I said, on their grounds, including live music, festivals, fun activities for the whole family. On the property, you also will find a tasting room, a vineyard, picnic area, a farm store, farm animals to interact with as you wander the fields. It's a great place to be and visit. The tasting room experience features also a guided and curated tasting of all their beers and wine. For tasting, you can also buy it by the glass. And they also have food that they prepare on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. It's a great place. Their owners, Twyla Deese, Dennis Balcom, and Michael Waltett, wonderful people. They're passionate about working with our community to make it the best place to live, work, and play. They're also outstanding business partners of the colleges. You know why I'm touting them today. Of course, for their business is great, but they are great partners. They're also providing real-life work experiences for our students in advertising. Turfgrass, we're working on special projects as we speak. They've created a new wine called Red Hawk Red in honor of the CVCC and Catawba Farms partnership. So I recommend Catawba Farms to everyone because there's something for each person who visits.
Well, and we hope they're doing this on a takeout basis, at least in the short term, So we want to get drive-by beer, wine, food, and everything from Catawba Farms at this point in time.
I need to check that out to see if you could just drive down 321 and hand it off. But they were great partners, and they're really doing some neat things. They also have other businesses that they're working on, and we want to support them wherever possible.
No, that sounds like a good one as well. So, small business that I'm going to shout out is one. Maybe we've even shouted out for them before, but it's a company called New Fabrics. It's NUFABRX, and you can find them at newfabrics.com. And was founded by. They're working with our local manufacturing solution center in Conover, North Carolina. Was founded by a young man named Jordan Schindler, who had some skin issues and came up with a way to infuse medicinal products into fabric. And he's had a very nice business going down there. They do everything from gloves to yoga pants to knee sleeves. They put in CBD or infuse yarns with various chemicals to assist with pain. But the reason we're giving them a shout out today is because they're trying to quickly shift some of their production to medical masks and protective gear. and they're not the only company that's doing that, but we certainly want to commend them and all manufacturing companies that are sort of recognizing that there's a need out there for some of these products, that there could be shortages in New York City. So give a shout out today to New Fabrics in Conover, North Carolina. Check them out at newfabrics, NUFABRX.com. And that's our small business this month. So anyway.
That's a good choice. As I was talking to you earlier, my research department, Tammy Muller, looking into small businesses, recommended Jordan's business today. I think it's a great thing. They're doing well otherwise, but it's a great thing they're doing now. And also in my research, as I was coming in, I was listening to Golick and Wingo on ESPN, and they were talking to, I think, the part owner of the Sixers and another pro team. It's Phillies, obviously, because his side business is Philly Fanatics, their mascot. Mm-hmm. And it's a textile firm that makes different things. And they have switched. They were laying people off because of the required layoff of manufacturers in Pennsylvania. But now they're doing masks and gowns to help all the healthcare industry. So it's really cool to see what's happening. People are pivoting and also doing it all for the right reason, good causes.
That's good. Well, look, we, number one, want to thank Peter for joining us today. And Pete, we wish you the best. And I know that your dog is waving goodbye as well. And I know the dog has her own Instagram account. Are people allowed to visit the Instagram account?
Yes, it's Cassandra the Cavachon on Instagram.
Cassandra the Cavachon.
Yes, and she posts most every day.
And how does one spell Cavachon?
Cavachon.
Cassandra the Cavachon.
She's half Cavalier, half Bichon.
She's a beautiful dog.
Yeah, she's looking cute today. So anyway, if you want to, you might not be able to find Peter, but you can find Cassandra out there on Instagram. So check that out. We want to thank our friends at the Mesh Podcast Network for letting us to continue our podcast and under some challenging circumstances and utilizing the technology to make it work. And as I said, check out all the podcasts at themesh.tv, and then also a good way to reach out to people. So contact them if you're interested in participating in those podcasts. Gary, I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon, but we look forward to coming back next month with another Entrepreneur Exchange. And we say hello to all of the folks out there and say hang in there, and we'll get through this. So take care.
I look forward to be back next month, and everybody stay safe and healthy. Prayers be with everybody. Take care.